All right, welcome back to episode 8, if I recall correctly, of the What Do I Know podcast. So today is May 28th, 2025 at 6:43 p.m. and I am wearing a white shirt, and obviously that's not doing too good for the recording quality, but it is what it is. It'll be funny looking back on it. But a few things have happened. 2 days ago, I turned 21, and to commemorate that, I bought a bottle of Arbor Mist, which was the first ever bottle of alcohol I bought from Walmart whenever I was 18 years old. I've never owned a fake ID. You can ask my friends and my ex at the time. This is the alcohol that I bought, or adult grape juice. This is the adult grape juice I bought whenever I was 18 years old with no fake ID, and I haven't had it since my ex and I broke up, and I think it'd be a perfect way to commemorate 21 years old. I didn't even get asked for my ID. It was probably because I haven't shaved. But, it's 21. Alright, so, podcast episode. I guess the point is to understand perspective, so what's my perspective recently? I've been struggling with knowing what I need to do and choosing not to do it and going down a depth of depression and, if I'm being real honest, suicidal tendencies. What tendencies? This is the same. This is the normal stuff, nothing new. But I really came to this weird spiral of knowing what I should do to improve, but being so exhausted and drained, I couldn't do it. I could only do the bare minimum I needed to, and that's all I had the energy for. And that wasn't going too hot, so I had to figure something out, and I've been working on it day by day. And I think obviously there's a surface level, which you've probably heard me say before. The story you tell yourself is the story you'll live. To know and to not yet do is to not yet know. But with those are really good pieces of wisdom and good frameworks to have. But it's it's like as if you having that framework, that knowledge, isn't enough to change your deep-rooted habits. Because fundamentally, where comes your coping mechanism and your habits derive from your reactions to the situations you have previously faced that have given you outcomes or subconsciously have made you feel safe. So, for example, with me, right? Sugar is a really not awesome. Look at that, case in point. I was about to say sugar is a really awesome coping mechanism. It ain't, not for me. But growing up, I had severe allergies. Popsicles were one of the best ways for me to actually stop feeling so congested. On top of that, my family on my mom's side has a family. We have a history of loving sugar. My great grandmother loved to bake. She was a heavy-set woman, and she had a whole Lazy Susan, or no, it wasn't Susan. It was like a whole ass cake drawer, like about that big, maybe. And for reference, my hands are as big as the JBL, bigger than the JBL speaker. So it was a big ass drawer, right? Full of cakes and pastries and all sorts of goodies, and it was awesome growing up. But later, as I get on older in my life, 21, I'm still a kid technically, but I've been through a lot. But some people have had it better than me and worse than me, so I gotta be grateful for what I got. But at the end of the day, it's everyone has their demons, their negative habits, and their bad coping mechanisms. And if you are an individual who understands that you have something that's not serving you, a habit, a framework, set of actions, a relationship, whatever, the first step in actually working on that and healing that is awareness. I've been trying to stop destroying myself internally and stop beating myself up since I was 17 years old. And I've gotten better, much, much better. which goes to show how bad I was, 4 years ago? Jeez. But at the same time, I still have a long way to go, and I have a lot of life to live. Hopefully. I mean, like, dude, earlier today, I was just sitting in my chair, and then I go do, like, a little squat to pick something up, because I try to have good form, and I go up, and it's, like, not a sharp pain, but it's, like, like a stretched muscle in my lower back right here. It's, like, right here, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm old. I'm 21 years old. How am I old already? And I'm like, holy shit. So I gotta work on that. Like, even sitting in this chair, it's not comfortable. But I think it's funny because, like, growing up, you always wish to be older, and when you get older, you wish to be younger. And I'm in this weird phase where I'm like, I have 20 years of life behind me, and if I'm really lucky, 20 years, 40 years, if I'm really, really lucky, 60 years or more ahead of me. If I'm insanely lucky, I'll have like 80 years more ahead of me, if I'm real lucky. Which means I'm either 1/4, 1/3, or halfway through my life. Which is crazy to think about. 21 years old. And with that comes an understanding of how you talk to yourself is really what dictates your future. One of the many things. Because, like, I'm trying to figure out how to do a whole lot of stuff at once. I'm trying to start a business. I'm trying to learn robotics and AI. I'm trying to become a high voltage electrician. I'm working a 7 to 3:30 job with an hour commute time one way. So it's like a 45-minute drive one way, about an hour the other way because of traffic. While also trying to start working out again, stretching, meditating, eating healthy, pay off a shit ton of debt, and then try and stabilize. Oh, and also, I thought I had an STD a while back, this past week, and my test results came in. I'm negative, so I've never had an STD. Thank God. Double digits, still never STD. Almost 20. Not an STD. I'm so lucky. But where was I? Yeah, it's like I repeat a lot of the things I tell the people and to the audience, I guess y'all, if anyone's even listening. But it's like I repeat myself to remind myself, and hopefully if someone hangs around me long enough, they start to remind themselves too. But just by me reminding myself of, well, to know or not yet do is to not yet know, I have used that as a reason to beat myself up, because I know I shouldn't take the action of, for example, earlier today I bought a bag of Twizzler Bites. Oh, I love Twizzlers. Twizzlers, ice cream, and Tubs, buttercream, and cream cheese, Pillsbury dough are my 3 weaknesses. And sugar. It takes a lot of mental strain to resist myself from going over and grabbing it. And where does that come from? It comes from a multiple of things. It comes from, one, a coping mechanism of the mind, a sugar/glucose state of the body, and an unhealed wound of the soul. So first you must heal the soul, then you must heal the mind, then you must heal the body. But by healing the soul, then you start to heal the mind, and by starting to heal the mind, you start to heal the body. And the inverse is also true. If you want to build the soul, you got to build your body, you got to build your mind, then you got to build the soul. Or at least amplify it and clear it up. From my perspective and my experience, please, eventually, whenever someone wants to be on this, I'll throw on a Zoom meeting and we'll hop on and we'll just talk. Whenever I make these things, I don't really have a direct, premise yet. It's just kind of what's been going on in my life, what I've been thinking on, what I should work on, and what I come to the conclusions of, and then I just kind of go on a tangent. But it's like I think some of the greatest thinkers are thinking from a place of where they have a problem they need to solve for themselves. It just happens that a lot of people have that same problem because we're all very similar in more ways than I think a lot of people want to admit. It's like everyone battles with sadness. Everyone battles with some level of depression. Everyone battles with some level of trauma. Like my ex, this amazing, beautiful woman I dated for almost a year and a half. I thought I was going to marry this woman. Some dumb 19-year-old kid. No, 18. No, yeah, I was 19. I turned 19 with her. Yeah. 19 years old, thought I was going to marry this woman. But, she had been through a very, very wild and painful and stressful childhood. It's not my place to delve into. But she told me with her wisdom, through all the sorrow, pain, and demons that she saw in her short life. She's still alive. Just in a short period of time, she'd been through insane amounts of trauma that would break, I'd say, 90% of the people watching. Most likely. If, let's say, 1,000 people are watching this, it'd break probably 900 of them. What that woman went through. And she told me in all of her wisdom that trauma is perceived the same. If the worst day, the most traumatic day in your life is your parents taking your car keys, that's perceived as the same as, let's say, your older brother's taking your food for the 5th day in a row. Now, that's not what happened with her. But, for example, even though like your parents taking away your car keys because you're being a brat, and your older brother's taking away your food, it's perceived to the child the same. And she really put that into perspective for me, and I didn't really understand it till more recently as I got a little older. It's like everyone has their issue. Like, for example, it was like 2 years ago, after her and I broke up, I was hanging out with this a buddy of mine, I'd say. It was basically my best friend moved out of the place we grew up and then moved to a different side of Peoria, where one of the only Advances is, near Dunlap. If people in Peoria who have Google Maps or whatever y'all kids are using, maybe Neuralink or some weird AI thing that just tracks and looks up all different references to what I'm saying, that'd be cool. That'd be crazy. That's a subject for another day. But my best friend moved. Him and his family moved over there, and it was there's Avanti's, Dairy Queen, and then Dunlap's over this way, and Peoria's down that way. Peoria, Illinois, it's where I grew up. And his neighbor down the street, so you drive down a windy road, you go around a corner, his house is right here, up against this massive, beautiful park called Detweiler Park, and then down the street a little bit is his neighbors. And my best friend is a year younger than me, and he's a year younger than me, and his neighbor and him are in the same class. His neighbor, my buddy as well, has an older brother who's the one I'm referring to as my buddy in this situation. So at this time it was, I want to say October, and I just started working. It was either like a week or so, maybe, and me working at this job called Trigo, where I got a story. So, after my ex and I broke up, we stayed with each other, I want to say for like a month or so, until she figured things out. And then it was just me, and like by September, like late September, it was just me in my place with my 2 baby kittens at the time. My little fur babies. Oh, I miss those little suckers. But I had those 2 little guys. or one guy, one girl. One was named Luffy after the Straw Hats, and one was named Angela after Bones. And I actually have a video of this. Whenever, like, the day this all happened. Well, so basically, I saw a video of Luke Belmar, and then after I saw the video, I dropped my phone and it broke. I still have the phone. I fixed it. Oh, whoops. I fixed it. It was this phone. This phone shattered, and it's dead. I haven't charged this thing in months. But it was basically shattered, and the only visible part of the screen that wasn't like blue, green, and red, that was like cracks or black, was right up here, and you could see the time. So only the time was open. I got the video of that still. I don't know if this is interesting enough, and y'all want to see where this whole like podcast idea came from. I can post that video, but I don't think I am. Who knows? But in that video, I had no phone, no job. I was I think a couple days, like I think 3 to 5 days away from losing my missing out on my first ever rent payment of my apartment, my first ever apartment, with 2 baby kittens to feed, with no job, with like $50, if that, in my bank account, and no phone. And eventually, with not giving up, with some discipline, with some hard work and grit, I was eventually able to find a job. The only hard part is, it was an hour drive away from where I was living, in Peoria. It was in Wyoming, Illinois, and you had to go past Dunlap. I had to go through Dunlap to go to Wyoming. Middle of nowhere, tiny little farm country, or a farm town. And it is farm country, but farm town, right? So I started the day at 5 a.m. It ended, I think, around 2 or 3. 10-hour shifts. So I made it to the interview on time. I got the job they offered to me. I accepted. And then the next day, to get to the interview, actually, I looked it up on this very computer that I'm recording this on, 2 years in the future. And I hand drew the map on a piece of paper, and then I drew out the Google directions on the same piece of paper, and then I just sent it, which to older generations like my mother and my grandfather, that's nothing. That's how you got around. I mean, you didn't even have a computer to trace it out on. But to my generation and those most likely watching, like my kids' generation and their kids' generation, God knows what the world looks like then. Good Lord. It was really challenging. And I know how to read a map. It was still scary, though. The reason, to tie this all back to trauma, is that I was doing that for about a week. No phone, mind you. Or I think I had my phone fixed at this point. So I did that for a few weeks. And then I was over at my buddy's house. I think we were doing D&D at his place, and his girlfriend was complaining and whining about being tired. She was grouchy, just acting like a brat, little kid, even though she's older than me. And he told me, like, oh yeah, she's been up since 7. She had an 8-hour shift. She's tired. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. I can completely understand. Well, I'd been up since 4 a.m. and I did a 10-hour shift, and now I'm over there. Even though that I was working harder, staying up longer, having less sleep, I still understood her trauma. Or not her trauma. It's not trauma at all. I'm not trying to say that at all. But I still understood why she was acting the way she was, because at certain points in my life I was doing the same thing. And because of the choices I'd make and the circumstances I was put in, I had faced that exact same thing earlier on in life. So I perceived it differently than she did, even though my circumstance was way worse. I wouldn't say worse, more challenging, probably. We still faced it differently and perceived it differently. Which goes back to the point, like, me driving an hour, working a 10-hour shift at 5 a.m. was awesome. It was a blessing. Compared to her, where it was like getting up at 7 and going to work, that was really painful and hard. And it was challenging for her. And for me, it was like, thank God I'm able to do this. But to her, it was like, oh God, why do I do this? And it comes down to your perception. And at the end of the day, it's like, the story you tell yourself is the story you'll live. The real question is, how do you change it? Which is what I've been working on with myself. Because, as I mentioned earlier, like, since I was 17, I remember my first ever sales job. I was working at a Bass Pro Shops in Peoria, Illinois, outside of the bowling alley, selling for Blue Greens Vacations. If it's still there, go say hi to Clayton if he's still there. He's an awesome guy, awesome boss, awesome sales mentor. Love the dude. I need to say hi whenever I'm back down there if I get a chance. But I remember just walk around like, I will be successful. I will achieve XYZ. I will be XYZ. And nothing can stop me. And then that evolved eventually into moving into downtown Chicago, which then evolved into me moving into the south side next to O-Block, which I think is the best thing that could have happened to me. I mean, granted, living downtown put me in like 20 grand of debt. Cumulatively, back rent is a little less than that, but not by much. And I'm really grateful for the choices I've made. It's just I need to choose to make better ones. And I'm assuming everyone's dealing with this as well. Like, everyone knows they shouldn't eat that sugar. Everyone knows they shouldn't smoke that cigarette. Everyone knows they shouldn't take that last piece of cake, or everyone knows they shouldn't watch that one more video or one more episode, or everyone knows they shouldn't jerk off or masturbate, whatever you want to call it. Everyone knows that they shouldn't judge others, they shouldn't discriminate against other people. They should always try and be the best versions of themselves, and yet to know and to not yet do is to not yet know. When you think about that, repeat that for yourself, and then you realize you do something that you're trying not to do, like buy a piece of candy or eat some sugar or stay up too late or eat unhealthily or any numerous amount of things that you're trying to stop doing, then you use that saying like I did, or that's what I did. To know and to not yet do is to not yet know, and then I start going down on a very negative spiral of beating myself up and then continuing the bad pattern I was trying to break. And what I've come to realize recently is that I need to change where I direct my attention. Because where my attention flows, my energy goes. When my energy flows, that thing will grow. I heard that, I don't remember where I first heard that, but I heard it today from a Shaolin monk on Chris Williams' podcast. If someone has not seen that podcast, please go watch that. It's like Chris Williams, Joe Rogan, Tom Bilyeu, Dr. Huberman, and a little bit of Lex Friedman are like my inspirations on making this podcast. I think it's pretty cool. And Sunny D. And you gotta change what you focus on, because what I was focused on, and don't eat that sugar, don't eat that sugar, don't eat that sugar. Instead, I should be focusing on what I replace it with. So I'm gonna make my own beef jerky here in a bit. I'm gonna figure that out, and if it's really, really good, I'm gonna try and sell it one day. But I'm gonna figure that out. Instead of eating sugar, whenever I get a sugar craving, I'll just open my baggie of beef jerky and just chew on that. And whenever I stay up late, well, I'd rather read a book instead of watch mindless YouTube, which I'm going to do tonight because I'm going to enjoy myself. And directing your energy and being able to hone and focus your awareness is probably the greatest superpower on earth that every human has the capabilities of developing, which I'm now starting to understand and starting to focus on because I got ADHD, like bad ADHD, to the point where I was on medication since I was like 8. I got off them like around 11, 12. And so I understand what it's like to not be able to focus, to be easily distracted, to struggle focusing on things you don't actually enjoy. And if I am able to start working and bettering my focus, my attention, someone who is biochemically not as equipped as some other people are, then make sure the story you tell yourself is one that supports you, not cripples you. Because at the end of the day, what that allows you to do is, instead of honing in on your negative flaws, on what you're doing wrong and debilitating yourself and tearing down all the progress you did, instead, even though you made the same mistake, like, shit, I bought Twizzlers today. You fat, lazy piece of shit. You are a sugar addict. You're never going to get better. Enjoy it. Eat your poison, you little bitch. Like that. That's the actual thing I said to myself earlier. Enjoy your dose of poison. And I was like, holy shit. I got to stop. So I threw it out the window. I kept driving. And I started eating a bit more. And then I realized what was going on. And then I spit the Twizzlers out of my mouth and put it back in the bag. And I was like, holy shit. This is bad. Like, that happened a few hours ago. Like, I'm nowhere near perfect. I will never claim to be perfect. And I don't want anyone to, think otherwise. I'm just a person. The reason I bring that up is because instead of me focusing on, eat your poison, you useless piece of shit, you'll never become anything, just keep poisoning yourself and numbing the pain because that's all you deserve. Instead of focusing in on that negative, self-debilitating narrative that I've been running from and subconsciously speaking to myself for the past decade, basically, in different forms, I then, in turn, say, I'm proud of myself for making myself stop eating Twizzlers. I didn't finish the bag this time. I'm proud of myself for setting down the tub of icing. I'm proud of myself for trying to go to bed earlier. And that reinforces the positive. That gives me strength and assurance, and on top of that, allows me not to strive to be perfect. Because at the end of the day, it's like, no one's perfect. No one ever will be perfect. And if the only way, in my opinion, you can be perfect is if you understand you're not perfect and you try to be better every single day. That's what I think perfection is, at least in a personal sense, right? Like, the perfect, best version of me is someone who learns from his mistakes of the prior day, directs his awareness to the positive choices that brings him closer to his goals and ambitions, and forgives himself and pulls himself up back from every single trip, every single fall into off a little hill, off a crevice, into the Grand Canyon, or even if he's right about to break through up at Mount Rushmore, he may fall all the way back down to the Grand Canyon. Best version of me, best version of you, would laugh about it, forgive him or herself, and say, I'll lay on my back until I'm ready to get up again. Now I'm going to start climbing one more time. And I ain't going to give up until I climb and make that hill. So I achieve whatever I set out to, or I'm going to die trying. That's the only way to do it. Either you make it or you don't. Because death is the greatest adventure. Robert Williams said that in Hook from Peter Pan. And it stuck with me ever since. Because growing up, I was pretty suicidal. I used to play a little game. I won't tell that to the internet in case some young child is listening, but I played a very dangerous game. Not Russian roulette. It was one that I made up myself. And if you ever meet my best friend Anthony, he would tell you that it was not good and I had some close calls. But, yeah. But at the end of the day, the point being, I guess, of this episode is start focusing on your awareness. Well, how do you start developing your awareness? First, you just stop listening to music for like a week. Like, listen to podcasts, if anything. Or, best of all, listen to nothing at all. And just sit there with your thoughts. Now, some people, that might be the scariest thing ever. And if that is scary to you, which it should be, everyone's crazy. There's no one who's not. If you don't know what makes you crazy, I don't trust you. Because if you don't know what makes you crazy, like for me, what makes me crazy, I'm very impulsive. I'm very ambitious. I'm very stubborn, very argumentative at times. I can be egotistical at times. Like, those are all things that can make me crazy. But I'm aware of that, which means then I can, one, warn you, and two, shows that I'm working on it to at least some level. If I ask you what makes you crazy and you can't say, oh, nothing, I would be like, oh, cool. But in the back of my mind, I'd be like, I'm not going to trust this person because they don't trust themselves. They at the very least, don't know themselves. Most likely, they don't trust themselves. So if it scares you to sit in silence and sit with yourself and not listen to music and just be in silence for a bit, good. Everyone has those moments. I have moments of like, wow, there's some demonic shit that goes on sometimes, of just pure wrath and destruction, mutilation, that obviously I think everyone in some sense has that crazy idea about like, oh, if I could just ram that car into that car because that jackass cut me off, or what would happen if I ran with these scissors, or all sorts of crazy shit. I mean, women probably have, God, I couldn't even imagine what women think about doing to other girls. Like, some stories I've heard from, like, colleges of, like, older women, like, holy shit. But, everyone has their demons. Everyone's scared of themselves in some sense. The stronger you are, the more acceptance you have to yourself. And the more capable you are. So I challenge everyone who listens to sit down and listen to like instrumental music, something that has no lyrics at the very least. If you can't sit in silence, cool, I understand that. Listen to something that has like no instrument, that has no lyrics or very little lyrics. Like, I love Dead and Company / The Grateful Dead. Dead and Company is John Mayer, Bobby Weir, O'Teal, Mickey something, Jeff Trementi. I forget the other drummer, but there was the two original drummers from the Grateful Dead and Bobby Weir playing with John Mayer, Jeff Trementi, and O'Neill, like, all phenomenal artists, and it's so awesome and super trippy and super hippie. I traveled across the country to 7 different concerts of theirs, and I got stories on that. Oh, man. But, listen to, like, music like that, because there are some lyrics, but it's very insightful, very thoughtful, very deep at times. And a lot of it, I'd say probably like 60 to 80% of it is just instrumental, where they're, like, freestyling and riffing off of one another. It's really cool. But it gives you time to, like, I wouldn't say drown out the thoughts, but, like, allows, at least for me with my chaotic ADHD hurricane-like mind, allows me to listen to 7 different instruments playing at once, and allows me to think and catch, like, a couple, 1 to 2, maybe 3 trains of thoughts that are going on sometimes. Like, usually it's just, like, 1 or 2 I've been able to hone in on over like the decade I've been working on this, basically, of just slowing myself down. Like, I've been told by every single member of my family since I was like 6. I'm like, Tyler, stop being so impulsive. Tyler, stop and think. Tyler, stop being a jackass. Tyler, stop. Be normal. Slow down. Tyler, stop. And I'm working on it. I'm catching up. So, yeah. Just work on sitting with yourself, and I'd say for a week, and just hear your thoughts. You're going to hear some crazy ones. You're going to hear some insane ones. You're going to hear some depraved ones. You're going to hear some insanely erotic ones, depending on when you do this in the month. That would fit in the Greeks. That would the Greeks would love. Let's just leave it at that. You're gonna hear some adventurous ones. You're gonna hear some very loving ones. You're gonna hear some creative, some sad ones. You're gonna think through some memories. You're gonna go through a whole range of emotions if you just actually listen to yourself and your internal world. Because as chaotic as the external world is, internal world is probably twice as chaotic in some sense. Like your day-to-day life for the average person, let's say you're in high school watching this, you show up, you do your classes, you talk to your buddies, you maybe do some sports, you go home, you eat food, watch YouTube or whatever streaming platform there is nowadays. Maybe you listen to an AI speak or God knows whatever entertainment. Like for me, I'd go home, play some Black Ops or some Minecraft, or it'd usually be hop on the Xbox with my buddies and we go play Minecraft on a little playlist I made in my little basement. You're going to get memories from the past. You're going to get hopes, ambitions. You're going to get all sorts of stuff. And then you're going to really start to see what, if you do that long enough, let's say 3 days, you get used to, like, actually hearing yourself think. Like, purposely trying to hear the narrative you give yourself. And then 4, 5, 6 days, a week later, you start to hear what repeats. You start to hear what you focus on. And then eventually, those habitual things, that's your subconscious speaking. That's what the actual story is. The subconscious. What your habitual thoughts is, the story you tell yourself. And it takes a long time. 21 days to a month. It's like build a physical habit. A mental one. God, that could take a month, a year, a decade, I bet, in some cases. I say that not to scare you. I say that to give yourself grace. Even with me. Like, I've been trying to work on this at least consciously for the past 2 years. 3 years, roughly. Maybe 4. 3 years. 3.5 max. And I have made significant progress, but I have a lot of work to go. Like, case in point, I told myself, eat your dose of poison while I was eating Twizzlers. That's not good. That's not healthy at all. It's maybe the way I stop myself from eating sugar, granted. That might be what it takes, just like how David Goggins has to put all of his haters' comments, record them in his voice saying the negative comments, and then go run to him saying the negative comments of people wrote about him. Sometimes you have to go to that dark side. I think there's this I love anime, and there's this one anime, if I recall correctly, called like Demon School Academy or whatever. The main character is called Anos, right? And there's 2 seasons. Premise of the show is that this demon king sacrifices himself to stop a war. He's vilified, though, by one side, and he's a hero by the other side. And even though he saved and stopped this whole war and created 1,000 or 2,000 years of peace, whatever, right? But throughout this, I think 48 episode, 2-season show, he keeps repeating something. You have not peered into the depths of the abyss. And it didn't really click to me, like, oh, that's some anime thing. But now I realize a little later on, like, probably like almost a year after I finished that thing, It's like, oh, for our world at least, or our reality, or my story, the abyss is my pain, my sorrow, my trauma, my anxiety, my fear, my depression, my suicidal thoughts, my hedonistic actions, my lustful thoughts. But that abyss is, I reference it as like, cool. You understand what you want to, like, the mask you want to wear and how you want to be perceived by others. You know who you're trying to become, but you don't know who you are. And you have to peer into that abyss inside yourself, to the black, vile aspects, the animalistic urges and the vile things you think of and you do and you enjoy to fantasize about, all that stuff. You gotta peer into that. And you gotta accept that. You gotta accept that as a part of you. Because it is. And if you can't accept every aspect of yourself or start developing the ability to accept yourself, then you aren't going to be able to grow. How can you add on to some? Like, I was baptized Catholic when I was born. I chose to be baptized Christian whenever I was like 8 or 9. My parents got divorced. I then kind of denounced God. Kind of. Then I went to a Catholic school in 5th grade. And then I questioned the faith teacher a bunch, and then I was like, yeah, this shit's stupid. And then, being older, looking back, or then I met my ex, and she was really into like Buddhism and the spiritual stuff. My little witch. And she helped me give another perspective. Such a wise woman that she was. Ugh. If you're watching this, you are amazing. Just live the best life for you. Just be happy. That's all that matters to me. Anyways. Then, later on, I started, probably a year ago or so, I started looking back and well, there's a lot of good wisdom in the Bible. I mean, I don't like the human organization, but the wisdom in the Bible's pretty good. The popes may have been pimps back in the day, and they may have been selling people to get into heaven, but the story of Cain and Abel is really good. I mean, Jordan Peterson really helped me actually see the wisdom in the Bible, not just the tyrannical human aspect of the Catholic Church. And looking into it a little bit more, it's the reason I bring this up is because there is a parable, right? There is 2 good men, both good people, both people you want to be around, both are positive forces, right? But one man builds his house on a cliffside on the rocks. One man builds his house on the beach. Then everything is good, normal, both good men, still positive forces. And one day, a big storm comes in and washes that man's house on the beach away. Because it was built on a poor foundation. He didn't position himself properly. Now, what does that mean for us? You can be the best. You can be the most positive person. You can be a really good person. But if you don't position yourself properly, if you don't build a foundation, a good, strong, sturdy foundation in all areas and all aspects of your life, you can't build off of that. You gotta peer into the abyss of your soul. You gotta change the story you tell yourself to build a life you dream of. And how do you do that? You sit in silence and you actually start to understand the story first. You develop your awareness of your internal state, of how you view yourself and how you view others and how you view the world. And then once you start hearing the self-narrative talk, then eventually you're just going to start being able to build more confidence up and look deeper inside yourself. Well, what do I mean by deeper? What do I mean by deeper? you ask questions you normally would not ask yourself. Like, where did this coping mechanism stem from? What was the trauma that I have ran from? What is something from my past that I am ashamed to tell myself or acknowledge? That's a good one. What's something from my childhood I regret? Like, once you actually start thinking about those questions and writing them down, because I like writing things, well, I like speaking a lot if you can't tell. And my current roommate is like, oh, you really like the sound of your own voice, which I've gotten a couple times, and I do apologize, y'all. I'm a talkative being. Oh, Lord. But, once you start asking yourself those questions, write them down, because it'll slow down your internal story. It'll slow down the way you think, and then it'll really force you to really focus and articulate what you're trying to write out to make sense to yourself, you know? So writing out those questions you're asking yourself to really formulate your idea and to slow down your mind, to direct your awareness and your energy into figuring out and deliberating that answer from your psyche, which then will be very hard and very draining in more ways that if you've never tried it, you don't understand. Like, it is very draining to pick up that pen and sit there for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, and write out everything that's going on, and then you're going to be done. You're like, oh. And I recommend that if you want to achieve whatever you desire, be whatever you desire, start writing things out, develop your awareness. And I think that'll be all for today. I went on a long enough rant. Till next time, y'all. Peace.